Wait, what really happened at the United States consulate in Hong Kong on October 27 when 4 young anti-China activists suddenly turned up at the gates to seek asylum? The official silence from the US and Beijing governments on the rejection of the would-be asylum seekers at Washington's consulate in Hong Kong has been deafening. That's understandable given the high political sensitivity and potential for a damaging flare-up at a time of extreme tensions between the two powers, with Hong Kong caught in the middle. But what we do know so far is very telling. One of our reporters personally witnessed the 4 young men running up Garden Road in Central and being stopped at the gate by security guards, who then led them into the compound after a short discussion. The next thing we learned, amid an otherwise total information blackout, was that they had been unceremoniously shown the door. The activists hid back the next day through a Britain-based group helping them. They claimed they had first been encouraged to approach the premises in a prior agreement with the consulate. One of them, who is apparently an American citizen, said he had initially called the consulate's emergency hotline and was told by staff that he would qualify for help. Along with another American citizen, he had also negotiated bringing his fellow activists to the consulate and was assured they would all be allowed in if they turned up, according to the group. So they went in, only to be fed the official line that asylum claims would be entertained only if they were made on actual American soil. Relying on the supposed territorial sanctity of a diplomatic outpost was not enough. Outraged at being kicked out, they complained that the likes of Chinese dissident Chen Guangcheng did not have to heed any such policy when he sought refuge at the US Embassy in Beijing in 2012. Aye, and there's the rub. You know why they were rejected? Because they are in fact nobodies in the eyes of the swamp dwellers of Washington, who cheered them on with their revolution and lulled them into a false sense of security that America had their backs. You can bet if someone like Joshua Wong, the dial-a-quote darling of Western governments and media, had approached the consulate, it would have been a completely different story. The US government has a track record of protecting people seeking shelter at its diplomatic missions when they suit its purpose. These unfortunate youngsters were nobodies, not high profile enough to suit any purpose, and instead posed a predicament for the US. Embracing them would have set a messy precedent and opened the floodgates to hundreds flocking to the consulate, many of them hoping to escape arrest and prosecution for crimes committed in the name of democracy during months of social unrest and street violence. They are now paying the price, hung out to dry by the US and other Western nations that paid them lip service about support, and even now continue to deceive them with hollow promises of pathways to citizenship and priority processing of asylum claims. Now that it's time to collect, reality bites. This is betrayal by the people who incited them. Let's face it, what happened at the US consulate shows just how far Washington, for all its virtue signaling and grandstanding rhetoric, is prepared to go in terms of helping freedom fighters when the feces hits the fan. All those US flag-waving hordes who took to the streets of Hong Kong last year are only now realizing they're on their own. From heroes to zeros. From America's useful idiots to just plain idiots now. That's what their great saviors have reduced them to.